Hello, this is Willis here with Triple Falls Productions. Today we've got another cast episode, and our guest is Reverend Melissa Ketchum.
Hello.
She is a entrepreneur, fashion designer, and a newly ordained interfaith minister. So, welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm so excited to be here, as you know. It's just like another day. I enjoy our conversations together, and I love what you're producing in this world right now. So,
thank you.
Happy to support you.
Well, thank you. Definitely.
Well, maybe we should acknowledge how we know each other and just get right into things, because there's a little bit of pertinent history here. Back in the early days of Triple Falls, what year was that, do you think?
I was was it like 2018 maybe?
Yeah, 2018, you were putting together a program through Twin Rivers Council for the Arts, which was the Movers and Shakers, and we just kind of showed up at the same time, and our businesses started. And
Melissa was organizing it.
Yeah, well,
we showed up.
We showed up to the
just
and
poof, out of the heavens fell these two wonderful people, and. Yeah, I had the idea. I was actually on the board at Twin Rivers Council for the Arts, and I had proposed the idea of creating, I guess you could say, a monthly networking event for creatives and artists. And we just did like a meeting to kind of see who was interested, and that's when I met you two.
It was really that first one?
Yeah, it was the first one.
Wow.
And there you were, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and that was kind of the same time you were getting into your company. You want to tell us a little bit about what you were aiming to do there and where you're at now?
Yeah, definitely. So it may be known that I love producing events, gatherings, bringing people together for the sake of personal and professional development, and now, of course, spiritual development. And the Movers and Shakers was really kind of, I guess, in a way, an experiment, a way for me to kind of, cultivate this beautiful community that we have, and also live out my passion of bringing people together. So after, I think we did Movers and Shakers for, maybe it was 2017 through like 2018 is when the Movers and Shakers ran. But I'm horrible.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Even through some of 19, I think.
It did just kind of taper off a little. But it was a perfect opportunity for me to kind of, like I said, live out my passion. And so I carried that experience over, and I founded Huxley Myrrh, which is an eco-conscious events company. And right now, of course, we're not doing events with this pandemic that's happening in the world. But I have kind of tried my hand at some virtual events, and that's been great. And of course, they're all, personal development minded, along with spiritual, just spiritual growth. Those are kind of the themes of these workshops and retreats that I'm hopefully one day going to be planning and producing. So,
yeah, that seems like a really neat position for you because, well, especially from Movers and Shakers, it really seemed like you had a desire to connect people who could benefit from knowing each other and to share those ideas, and would regularly start meetings and stuff with kind of like get to know you stuff and make sure everyone was aware of what each other was doing, and that's cool. So
definitely.
I can see the extension there with Huxley and Myrrh and your online events, because you've been doing, what do those look like recently, like a live stream with a discussion, or?
Yeah, so kind of at the beginning of this quarantine was when I put out into the world Mental Health Reset, which was really a virtual space that I had created to discuss what's happening in the world right now and to help others navigate these changes and these changes within themselves as well. So really what it looks like, and I do plan on launching another series of mental health resets down the road, but what it looked like was maybe like, introductions, group introductions, and then it would move into like a 20-minute talk or some sort of discussion that focuses on a certain topic. And then from there, it's open for discussion, really whatever is alive for people at that time. But what I love about that space was there was people from all over the United States just connecting. And we were connecting through, of course, like our struggles and the difficulties that we were facing in relation to this pandemic. So, and in life, there's so much going on right now. And I think that camaraderie and that safety and just being able to be seen and heard is extremely important at this time. So that was actually the only event that I've done virtually. I'm really taking this time actually to engage in workshops and retreats online that are produced by other people, kind of seeing how they're doing it, because I'm not necessarily savvy with technology. And it's been great to see how others are using this opportunity to, promote their purpose. So
what sort of things have you tuned into relating to that? Can you talk about any of it? Yeah,
definitely. So there was, of course, we know that there are some injustices during this time that are being brought to the forefront. And I think the Black Lives Matter movement is something that I know, I can only speak for myself here, but I know that I'm trying to understand and to support and to do the work needed within myself to grow. And part of that was, engaging in, there was a solidarity circle that my friend Katie Boone had produced. It was like a 3-part series just discussing race and privilege and how I, as a white person, can contribute to the conversation in a productive manner. And, I've been doing just anything that kind of comes into my realm in relation to personal, professional, and spiritual development. I did a few weeks ago, I did like a virtual intimacy retreat, which essentially was a platform to connect with others on a deeper level, virtually and in person, of course. That was just extremely eye-opening and transformative for me. Just trying to take advantage of this. I feel like I'm in a bubble right now, just a very stagnant bubble. And I kind of am just embracing that. Like, I have goals and dreams like everyone else that I'm like, I want to happen, but I'm embracing the idea of just being and becoming and seeing where that takes me. So,
well, especially right now with so much uncertainty.
Yeah.
To come back to some of the other things you mentioned, like I feel like there's a real power in conversation right now, and whether it's relating to the social shift and Black Lives Matter movement, hearing from voices who've been kind of stifled by the system, or even just with the pandemic and like talking about safety and like wellness in a different way. It's a really important time for that kind of thing and those conversations.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that, here's the reverend in me coming out, but I feel that this pandemic in a way was a very like divinely orchestrated situation that is again causing us to really reflect the parts and the pieces within ourselves and within society, within this world that are no longer serving us, so that we can find a way to transmute or alchemize what's happening for the greater good of everyone. That's why there's just so much coming up right now. And, I feel the only way around it is through it, to embrace it and to experience it and to do the work that's required of me within myself. So
I do think that's very pertinent. The presence of a pandemic has really laid bare kind of some of the cruelties that we see in our healthcare system, and in the way that we treat one another. And I mean, it might be a time for people to see how that changes things. And through this time, well, even prior to this, you've kind of gone through a large spiritual shift. Well, you've alluded to it a lot. But do you want to talk a little bit about like what caused that and how that happened for you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would love to. Thank you for asking. So, I, just to kind of, set the stage for this conversation, I was raised Catholic, K through 12. I went to Catholic school. I was very involved in the church at that time. But I was also raised Lutheran. I had one parent that was Catholic and one parent that was Lutheran. So, Monday through Friday, I was at school. I was Catholic. I was indulging in the Catholic experience. And then on the weekends, we would go to worship or to church at a Lutheran church, which I was also extremely involved in. And just, I feel like that really set the stage for why I am now an interfaith minister, an ordained interfaith minister that supports all sacred pathways. I feel that, growing up, I do respect my upbringing, where I came from. But on the other hand, I also didn't feel like I fit in with those paradigms. I felt like I was not worthy of being this holy spiritual person. And now, of course, my opinion on that has completely changed. And I'm starting to embrace my divinity and the divinity within others. And that's the message that I would like to promote now. So kind of, I went through a lot of crazy phases in my life. Mental illness, addiction, both things that I'm very public about speaking about. No regrets, no shame there. But I was really disconnected to a higher being. I was disconnected to a spiritual path. And then I would say probably around the same time we did the movers and shakers and all that was happening, I was starting to kind of come into my own and exploring what my purpose on this planet was. And that's when I started to connect with my spirituality. No, maybe it was a little bit before movers and shakers, but I was actually in outpatient treatment, court-appointed outpatient treatment for a DWI that I had gotten in 2016. And my counselor at the time had recommended that I go to a group called ACOA, which is the Adult Children of Alcoholics. And it was a support group that was hosted at the Hope Interfaith Center, which is where I was ordained. And I just remember walking into the center, into the space, and seeing like the different representations of the divine throughout the room. We were in like the sanctuary or the chapel or whatever you'd like to call it. I see Jesus and Buddha and Mary and Krishna, and I'm like, gang's all here. Like everyone's represented, and something within me just, it wasn't in that moment where I'm like, oh, I'm like going to be a interfaith minister, but it did kind of plant the seeds. And it just kind of got me thinking about what that world would look like if we all embraced one another and supported one another in this unity consciousness. So a year ago, I decided to enroll in the seminary through Hope Interfaith Center, and which was an online course that we did. And we had homework, we had readings, we had a lot of like introspective work that needed to be done. And yeah, now it's all come to a conclusion and it's all been solidified. And just this past weekend, that's when I was ordained. So, and of course, in between all that time, there was many aha moments and breakdowns and, you know.
Yeah. And you're ordained through the Hope Interfaith Center.
Yes.
Do you work independently or will you work through the organization? I know that it's a Mankato-based thing. Like, it's Amy and Janelle's thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but will you represent them elsewhere, or how does your work look?
Good question. So I do have the title and the credentials, I guess, but I plan to use what I've learned to be a spiritual wellness coach through my new business, Gilded Heart Coaching. And so with that, I plan to do one-on-one coaching with individuals who have been are in the place where I've been, and the hope or the idea is to kind of help them navigate through those difficulties. So I'll be working for myself, but I think the idea of interfaith and the idea that all sacred pathways are honored will still be something that I will always carry out throughout my work on this planet. So.
Mm-hmm. And you're still continuing with the Huxley and Myrrh as well? Yes.
So it's exciting. And this, during this pandemic, it's been, like I said, really introspective. And I'm like, what do? I love the events. I love bringing people together in community through workshops and retreats. How do I combine that with this new path that I'm trying to create for myself? And so, I just brought the two together. I actually am living in Colorado right now, and I have a space there that supports small workshops and seminars, things like that. So I'm just waiting to use it. Mm-hmm. And with that, all of the events and things will be spiritually and spiritually minded. So, yeah.
I don't know exactly how to transition to this, but I do want to put you a little bit on the spot about
do it.
Well, it might not be the thing you want. It's I want to talk about the event planning process of Starving Artist.
Oh, yeah,
2019.
We're switching gears.
Because when I think about coming from like doing a digital event from some like enormous project that I can't even really fathom putting together like that. I want to know about what you were going through in your head when you were planning that project.
Starving Artist. Yeah. I guess the foundation and the inspiration behind that event, of course, I was working with Twin Rivers Council for the Arts. This was our yearly benefit for artists and creatives in the community. And so, I'm all about unity, bringing people together and showcasing the different talents and strengths that we have within this community. And Starving Artist was kind of a nod to all of that. Here's a platform. Let's create this platform for the artist and let's just make it happen and showcase how special, how unique Mankato really is. And, that was probably the largest event that I've planned so far in my life. And of course, there are things that I would definitely do differently and things that I am proud of. And I like to focus more on the things the positives, of course, but we can always learn and grow. I do love how unique the event was, and the people that were participating and the talent that was there. It was just a really cool vibe. Yeah. I don't know if I can say this enough, but I love this community. I love Mankato, and I love what it has to offer. So it was just a really great celebration for all of that.
Mm-hmm. And how do you take those experiences with you forward into what you're planning now? Is that something that applies to the digital realm, or are you looking to, eventually post-COVID put together large events like that again?
Yeah, I love the idea of large conferences or conventions that are also just amazing, transformative experiences that do also involve art and music and visual experience. So I do believe, I don't have anything in the works now, of course. My brain has just been kind of shut off to the event planning realm, but I do see possibility and opportunity in the future to kind of combine that with the path that I'm on now. So
do you see art and music as being somehow tied to that spiritual experience?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, if we really want to get into it, our creator, whatever you name it, source, the universe, God, goddess, is the ultimate creator. That is where I feel when I'm creating or, relating to music or whatever it is in the arts realm, creative writing, I feel that at times I've been tapped into something creative. That energy that just flows through you is tied to source or all that is. So, I went to school and got my Bachelor of Arts in Fashion Design. And, of course, many people might look at that like fashion. What does that have to do with spirituality? And maybe I'm not giving this explanation like justice, but I just feel that they are deeply connected. How I dress, it's a little funky sometimes, but that's how I choose to show up into this world. This is my expression of self. Mm-hmm. So I do see the connection there. I feel that this source, God, goddess, is within us, and this is an expression of that.
When you talk about, you've used a lot of terms for God, and I would assume you would as an interfaith minister. Is that to promote the all paths ideology, or is that how you personally refer to God?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my personal relationship with God, I use all of that terminology. Growing up, again, back to my roots, growing up in a Catholic school system, and I'm not by any means bashing Catholicism. That's a part of me. I embrace that. But I see, and this is going to be a little controversial for this interview, but I see, I don't just see like a male God. I just could never connect with that idea. I see it as God, goddess, mm-hmm. The universe, source. And of course, there's mystery behind all of that. There's just so much unknown too. So.
Yeah. So the idea that I'm kind of getting here is God transforms through your understanding.
Yes.
That's
deep. That's beautiful. This whole interfaith experience that I've had has been shaped by, I guess I left out of my explanation of what I'm doing kind of here, but I did earlier this year pick up and move to Colorado. I'm living off-grid on like 200 acres of land, working with the land, growing our own food, homesteading. I live in community, a very, very small community, like 6 homes on this land. And the reason that I decided to move to Colorado, that's actually where I went to school in Denver at the Art Institute, and that's where I got my degree, and never thought I'd be back. But there's a town called Crestone, Colorado, which supports the idea of interfaith. So I visited there last summer. I stayed at an ashram, universal ashram. I stayed at a Zen Buddhist center. I studied Tibetan Buddhism. And that was really a draw for me to be closer to this town that, boasts like 20 plus spiritual centers. And I just kind of see it as a spiritual playground where I can grow and learn. And that's why I love what you said about like your knowledge base, your awareness. It may change. I know I've had like these grand epiphanies just from conversations with people that have changed the trajectory of my life. So I feel that especially with interfaith, it's important to come into it with an open mind. You don't have to prescribe to anything, but come into it with an open mind and heart, and let your own moral compass tell you what's right.
How does that extend to the all sacred pathways? I can kind of imagine, but can you talk about that a little bit and what that means to you and to the interfaith?
So, I spent, like I was saying, 2.5 weeks at this ashram, where it was a beautiful celebration of colors and worship and ritual. And it was just like adornment of these deities that, in Hinduism, they typically connect to. And, I went into it knowing nothing about what I was getting into, but I went into it with this open mind. I know where I stand and I feel secure in my beliefs. And so that's why I was able to explore. And then going into the Zen Center, where I spent like 2 months maybe, very different practice, very focused on meditation, very like obedient. There's lots of discipline in place when it comes to Zen Buddhism, at least from my experience. And which is exactly what I needed, because I'm more of like the ashram experience. I'm more like color, movement, like flow. The Zen Center was a little bit more like logic. And I just observed the two, back to back. And I was like, this is very similar. Very similar in that both practices, both forms of spiritual expression, what really is happening is that we're tapping into that moral compass that we have been given in this life. And we're tapping into how can we be better contributors to this planet, and how can we come into various situations, life situations, with more awareness, more mindfulness, and more care for one another. And for me, I'm an experienced person. It was cool to witness and experience these things back to back. And really, it's just like, my upbringing, being raised Catholic and Lutheran. It's the same. It's the same.
That might be more controversial than the other thing.
Very. I know, guys.
There might be some angry Lutherans watching right now.
I know. Trust me. And I don't mean to bring like controversy, but this is what feels right in my heart to discuss at this time. Specifically at this time of upheaval and like lack of unity. And when it's all said and done, I'm just promoting unity, doing the best I can.
And you want to bring people towards that, right? Previously we've discussed the possibility of some retreats. Is that still something? And what path are you doing that through? Is it a Huxley thing?
Yeah, the retreats, the events are definitely going to be, a Huxley and Myrrh thing in collaboration with Gilded Heart, in collaboration with other people who are willing to participate and be a part of it. I feel that all perspectives should and will be presented, and that's really important to me. As I step into this role, I don't want to be the one telling people how to live their lives. And I don't want to be the one telling people that they are wrong in doing what they are doing. When it comes down to it, I want to try to understand where people are coming from and put myself in their shoes. So I do appreciate diversity in conversation and experience. Like, I love, Jacob, this, I love our conversations because there are times when we don't necessarily agree with one another what we're saying, but we are open to understanding. And I think that is extremely valuable. And that's why we're such good friends.
I enjoy them deeply too.
Yeah.
This one just came to me. When you're talking about self-understanding and the people, studying people within themselves, as a spiritual leader, how do you offer guidance to someone when the answer isn't so, it's not coming from a single text or something like that?
Yeah. So here's my secret, and tell everyone my secret. No, I'm just kidding, but you can. So I strongly believe that, again, we were born with this moral compass. We truly deep down know what's right. And the reason why there is confusion is because of, societal conditioning. There are certain paradigms that exist within this society that have existed since the beginning. And there are, of course, opinions from others, your loved ones, your family, your friends, whatever it is, that contribute to your own decision making. And what I tell people is to always follow the whisperings of your heart. And I say whisperings because your heart knows what's right, and it will always guide you to the right thing, but it's not always the loudest answer. Again, you're dealing with what everyone else is telling you, plus what your mind, if you have anxiety like myself, what your mind is spinning you to think or whatever. So the way that I kind of help people navigate or to understand the heart is through practices, of course, like meditation and embodiment. So embodiment is a practice that I became familiar with in Zen Buddhism. And it's essentially understanding this and understanding and becoming aware of the physical sensations that arise within your body, specifically in your heart space. So at times I'll ask myself when I'm dealt with a really difficult question, I'll just create, a silent environment, silent space, get comfortable, and I'll continue to ask myself, what is the right answer? And just wait and feel for that sensation. So that's embodiment in a nutshell. But these are things that I do plan on teaching and offering to the world, of course. Or the world. That sounds,
The Mankato community.
The Mankato community.
The way that relates to all sacred pathways, I'm drawing sort of a connection. Well, a connection with connection. It's and meeting someone where they're at, maybe.
Yes.
Because like everyone comes from a different place, especially as it relates to spirituality, and then
Right.
maybe not trying to convince someone that they're on the wrong path, but helping them explore the way forward in a healthy way,
Yes.
using a range of possible ways.
Nailed it. I love that. Nailed
Nice.
it. That's exactly it. You know, I only see this world through this lens that has been created through my life experiences. And we all have a lens that we see the world through, and it's all different. So really the purpose of this is, again, tapping into your own internal guidance and really feeling into what feels right to you. And I love what you said about like meeting somebody where they're at. Like that's so important, because you see now, specifically on social media, everybody does have an opinion and an experience that they may feel very passionately about. And very often we feel it's our need to change them or tell them differently. And very often that's not the most beneficial approach. People just need to figure these things out for themselves. And I just want to create that space and that support for people to do that.
One of the things I think has been most interesting, I don't consider myself to be especially spiritual, but I do like headspace stuff, like figuring out how to be more effective kind of thing. And one of the things that I've come across recently is like the concept of outdated beliefs and challenging those beliefs within yourself so that you can grow from them, and I guess like kind of sometimes cut them loose too, because it's really easy to get bogged down by our basically history.
I love that you brought that up. I was actually just thinking about that today. You know, again, with my very traditional upbringing, I do want to honor that tradition, but we are evolving people. We are continuously evolving. Like I said, even through some conversations, my mind is shifted. My consciousness is lifted. And so,
Put that on a bumper sticker.
Put that somewhere. And so, now I totally lost what I was going to say.
No.
So like what I feel is right at this time for me is to still honor that tradition, but also bring it into the now. Like, you know, there may be some certain texts, spiritual, religious texts that we prescribe to, that they didn't necessarily have the language that we do now, and the experiences that we do now, and the way to verbalize and communicate those things. But I think the religions that I've been based in, there's always common threads: compassion, forgiveness, love, unconditional love, like, and seeking the truth. And those are the things, the principles that I aim to bring forward from my experience.
So this is just
Are we
curious.
gonna go there?
Yeah. Sorry. Or just as a person who is coming from Catholicism, and you know, going the path you're down now, talking about a voice within yourself, these whispers, do you believe that we are innately something? You know, there's a Catholicism ascribes to original sin, and that's not a belief that I hold. It's how can you hold those beliefs simultaneously, or is that something that has gone away?
I think that's something that I'm still exploring, how that fits into my current path and my current beliefs system. here's how I view it now. I see the experiences that I've had in my life, and let it be known, I have struggled in various situations, in various aspects. I am a criminal, technically.
Hell yeah.
I've been arrested. I've had a DWI. I've been institutionalized. I've had these very profound, earth-shattering life experiences. And I don't think that necessarily makes me less than anyone else. And I do not believe that anyone else that has those life experiences should be treated less than. I believe that we have been given them as gifts to help us heal others in those situations. So again, like alchemizing the darkness, the low-lying energies and bringing them into the light, pulling them into the light. That's kind of what I'm more about these days. And does that mean that I was born with original sin? Or yeah, maybe. Yeah. I guess I'd have to think about that a little bit more, but
I mean, from what you just said, once again, I don't believe this, but I could feel some comfort in the idea that all sin is equal, or something. But the other question there is coming from you're pushing some positivity things here that listen to yourself and find the good in us. But where does that go? Where do we continue onwards to? Is that just a energy or?
It's just, I feel very strongly that it's connecting to and acknowledging the divinity within. Like, we are all here with purpose. We all are born with a purpose to be on this planet at this time, for this to share this purpose, whatever that looks like. And I feel that in order to even discover that purpose, to even know what that means, you have to really dig deep within and connect to, again, the whisperings of your heart. What is your heart telling you? What is your heart guiding you to do? One thing that a practice that I'm really big into is the practice of surrender. Like, I surrender to the highest and greatest good of this planet and of myself. And wherever that takes me, I will trust that path. And so, rather than trying to get in my head about it, and think about how it's all connected, I just allow myself to be guided where I need to go. Is that woo-woo or is that woo-woo?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
It seems like is a good way to encapsulate that. Like, earlier you mentioned people knowing kind of inherently what's good and what's right, and then just evaluating that on a case-by-case basis as you go through life, and applying some of the wisdom that you've learned from whether it be spirituality, other people.
Right.
I mean,
like,
it seems like you're given a toolbox, and
yes,
hopefully you can use those tools to get you through.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really strongly feel that we are here on this planet to have this human experience and all that entails. And what that entails is pain, heartbreak, pleasure, joy. Like, we are here to experience these things. We are here to learn. We are here to grow. And I think that, and this is what I've just noticed in my life, when I give myself more grace to experience this life in that way and more understanding, it helps me understand others more and have more compassion for what they see as reality. So, yeah. And I mean, when it all comes down to it, do we really know what the answers are? I think it's just far above even my capacity to know, like, what's really the truth. So,
to extend that to a interesting thought that's been with me for a while is like, it. I mean, it could be extended to like some simulation theories and stuff too, but
Yeah.
at its core, it's like the past is our memories, the future is our imagination, and so like all you will ever experience is any one moment, and so treating the past as anything more than a memory and the future as anything more than your imagination is like giving it some maybe like too much value or too much power over you.
Yes.
And so just focusing on like the here and now and being able to move forward
Yes.
from your current state.
So good, Willis. So good. Yeah. That's it.
Cool.
I like that.
That's been on the old noggin recently. So
On the noggin. I mean, it's exactly it. Like, what's happening in the now? How can I enjoy this moment that's happening right now? That's why my phrase, and this is another bumper sticker idea, is being and becoming. I am a human being and becoming.
I like that.
Like
that
that?
is definitely bumper sticker material. Yeah. I am my thinker is exhausted. I don't know if I can muster any more spiritual questions.
Yeah, let's change the pace.
let's talk about Mankato a little bit.
Yeah.
So talk us briefly through your history of your memories of Mankato, your past with Mankato.
Yeah. I mean, this is the place that kind of broke me open. This is the place that I experienced some of my biggest rock bottom moments, my most pivotal life-changing experiences in my personal life, but then also in the aspect of community, just realizing like I can't stress how much I just value this community that has been created. And I remember, so I think I moved to Mankato 2014, and I had been familiar with the area even before then. And I just remember just kind of, it was not the Mankato that we see today. But I just had a feeling about it. I was like, this place feels really good to me. And like I said, I'm an intuition. I'm a feeler. I feel things out. I try to add some rationalization, but, I felt like this was a place that I could call home. And I honestly had no desire to leave, up until I did. But, yeah, I've just really, appreciated the arts, of course, and also there are so many entrepreneurs that come out of this community and that are based here that I also support and am inspired by, like you guys,
Yeah, well, you're always welcome to come back. I mean, you've threatened to a couple times, I think.
Don't make me come back there.
Yeah. That was about the same time I arrived here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was 2013, 2014.
Where did you come from?
Military.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Like, Mankato wouldn't be the same without you.
Oh, thank you.
And Willis, of course.
Yeah. We're working on it.
With these powers combined. Yeah. So,
Mankato was sort of was it like a place where you were able to figure out some stuff about your, I guess, future with the whole range of experiences that you encountered?
Yeah. It was really, everything here. I don't think that it's a coincidence that I landed in Mankato. I think that it was more,
Mankato landed on you.
It's totally landed on me. And yeah, it's just everything that I'm passionate and interested in is here. The Hope Interfaith Center, the arts, the small business development center and small businesses like I had mentioned, and just the people are really amazing. And a lot of the connections that I've fostered, that I've gained in this community are still like lifelong friendships that I know I'll have forever. But yeah, and I feel like it's the right size town to be able to have a dream and to bring that dream into fruition, because you will be supported here.
I agree with that a lot.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that too, because it's small enough that there's some ability to like engage with a wide variety of people and communities, and then it's big enough that there's still plenty going on that you can develop things and have a little bit to grow with it. So it's a really nice balance between that. So big you get lost, and so small there's nothing to be done.
Yeah.
I feel like I've experienced that here, so I like that about Mankato.
Well, I'm living in like a town of 150 people. Like the closest grocery store, and it's locally owned. It's half an hour away. And then there's a Walmart that's an hour away. No Target or anything else, just like a Walmart. So it's very secluded. And I do miss like this community. I think everyone is in isolation right now and trying to just kind of do our own thing. But yeah, it made me, coming back, actually, it made me appreciate, I already appreciated Mankato, but I appreciated it even more. And also, like, there's this really crazy cool thing that's happening. I'm starting to feel more inspired being in this space, inspired to create again, because, you know, with the pandemic, I was all like doing my own thing. I was healing wounds. I was doing personal development. And, you know, coming back here, I just see, like, going down a riverfront, you know, you see the murals, you see the small businesses. It's like Old Town is like my just favorite place. But then you see the big silo with the mural on it, and it's extremely inspiring to be here.
I like that.
What do you think, Jacob?
Nothing. I thought you might plug DJ Luster next, and I was hoping for it.
DJ Luster. Oh yeah. So let's just there
was an encounter with a friend of ours.
I just loved this experience. So I was actually going to go meet up with my friend Jacob, and beforehand, and this was like right like the day after I had gotten back into town, and I was like, I'm just gonna, you know, I was in the mood to explore the outdoors, to engage in the town, but not, you know, just distance. And so I was like, I want to go to Riverfront and like enjoy the sunset and check out the silo art. And then I pull up, and there's this guy, DJ Luster, with his laptop and his whole set, just chilling and loving life. And I'm like, what is this beautiful gem that I've discovered? And I'm just like all about that. Like, he's just doing his thing, and I loved it. And that's Mankato. There's so many other people too that are just doing their thing, being who they are, and bringing what they have to offer to this community, and it's beautiful.
It's really great. There's a space for that. Well, should we wrap it up there? Call it good?
I think we've come full circle.
Full circle.
Got any plugs for us? Follow the Huxley and Myrrh and future projects. Yeah.
Still working on the websites at this time, but I do have Instagrams for both Huxley and Myrrh, spelled Myrrh, and just launched my Instagram and Facebook page for Gilded Heart Coaching. We'll get some content, some information up there, but it's just Gilded, Gilded, heart spelled like heart, and coaching. And of course you can connect with me there or on my personal account on Facebook, Melissa A. Ketchum. So thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I love this.
For coming
Keep
on
up the good
show.
work.
Yes, thank you very much for for visiting and for stopping by. This was a great chat.
Yes, wonderful.